It takes your hands and your head and your heart, yes, your all. It takes a full surrender to serve my Lord. It takes your time and your means and your prayers lest you fall. It takes your everything, child, to serve my Lord.
And for every agenda item, the church club speaks to each agenda item. It's not proper that you get to a certain agenda item, then say, Dorcas leader, please speak to this item. The church clerk must take charge, must know the details, and then say, I will now ask the Dorcas leader to mention the issue or to add some point. Because the meeting belongs to the church clerk. Let me put it this way. The church clerk is the constitutional and administrative officer of the church. When there is chaos in the church in terms of policy, we blame the church clerk. If there is somebody who should know the church manual by heart, it's the church clerk. The church clerk must sit next to the chair and say, Chair, according to the manual, this is not how we move. But they don't do that in the meeting. They have already forecast, they prepare for the meeting. When you're a church clerk, when you develop your agenda items, what you also do, you then look at the church manual and say, okay, page, this one supports this item that we want to discuss. So that as a church clerk, part of educating the church is that now we are going to talk about departmental plans. When you go to page 275 of the manual, it speaks about the fact that the church board must do the plans and present them to the business meeting. So you give a reference. It's part of learning. You give an enabling policy reference. So if there's division and confusion around policy, responsibility of the church clerk, you must know what the constitution of the conference says. You must know the church manual. And run the meeting, run the agenda. It's you who makes the motions. Minutes. We do not, as an Adventist church, write who said what in the minutes. We don't write that. Your minutes can be half a page or 1 page. We only write actions. Voted. If in your minutes, always it starts with voted. Voted to appoint, that's what you write. If it's a matter that you say it's the budget that must go to the business meeting, then it's voted to recommend. That's how you write. Your minutes always start with voted to. Voted to recommend, or voted to appoint, or voted to approve. Always, one line. That's the minutes. We don't write long stories. Unless if the item requires a bit of background. Then you can do maybe 2 lines of background. And they will start as whereas. Then you explain the background. Whereas, therefore voted to. That's how we write minutes. We don't write long stories. So that when the minutes fall into the hands of an unauthorized person, they will not pick up issues. That mama was brought before the deacons board for what. Anybody can get the church board minutes, they will not know what's happened. They will just know the outcome. Voted to censure brother this for this. That's it, but there are no details. Those details were discussed in the board. And the business meeting is the same. And the minutes must be sent to the members before the meeting. No meeting must take place where you have not received the agenda and the minutes of the last meeting. There must be no meeting. The minutes must be there. I refuse to attend meetings where there's no agenda and the minutes of the last meeting are not present. I don't attend those meetings. I want the minutes. You have a right. So, church flag, every meeting must be accompanied with the agenda and the minutes. And members have the right to phone you when you send out the agenda. On that item, what are you planning to discuss? Can I include other agenda items? That's how you run a smooth meeting. So that when you get into a meeting, this thing of can we now adopt the minutes? And people say, no, can we add? When you're sitting here and you've got somebody from the floor wanting to add, you already know that you're in trouble. Send your agenda in advance and ask members to send their contributions. What are the items they want to put in? But you have there as leadership. You can say, no, this one we will not put it in now, we'll do it in the next meeting. And the only reason why you do that is that you must be thoroughly prepared to run the meeting. If you want to run an efficient meeting, you cannot run it with points that you just received now. They will ask you questions you can't answer yourself. It's your meeting. If it's your meeting, you must be thoroughly prepared. And put under general, we don't do those things here. There's no under general here. Meetings, agendas must be sent in advance. And they must be saved as well, because when you do the handover, you must be able to hand over, there must be record. We must be able to go into the archives and say, in 2012, we took a decision that we want the church site, or we paid a deposit. Can we get that record? Where is it? We must be able to find it. And the treasurer the same. You don't just give a financial report. You send the draft report to the members a week before the meeting. A week before the meeting, minimum. A week before the meeting. If you're not ready, postpone the meeting. So that members come to the meeting with the report in their hands and they have read it. That's how you also minimize time in your... That's how you have efficient meetings. You see, this thing of coming here and saying, we are now going to read the minutes, and the church clerk reads the minutes, it should not happen. Send the minutes in advance, members must read the minutes. If you come to a meeting, you have not read the minutes, but they were sent to you, it's your problem. The assumption must always be that when you get to a meeting, you have read the minutes, you have read all the reports. So every item that needs a report, that report must be sent to the members. If it's personal ministries, if Dorcas wants something, craft something, send it to the members. Members must have information in their church. But also the Dorcas leader, and I don't know who's the Dorcas leader, sorry if I'm always speaking on you, I don't know who it is. Before you want an item to be discussed in a meeting, you must have your Dorcas committee. You can't just be, no, Dorcas, church clerk, can you please discuss contributions? But the church clerk must ask, okay, Dorcas leader, please send me your minutes. And that's the other thing. Dorcas church clerk, you are responsible for the minutes of the committee of the departments. AY, Dorcas, personal ministries, whoever, you are the custodian of records. They must do their minutes and send them to you. You must have record. Because when we ask, you must be able to answer. Because you are the custodian of records and the custodian of policy. So, committees, departments, leaders, you can't make decisions on your own. But in the Adventist Church, we've got committees. If you look at the church manual, we've got either committees or councils. The councils, it's normally specified, like AY and the Pathfinders, it's specified who sits in a council. Sabbath school, it's specified, but a committee may not be specified in the manual. So you can ask few members to become part of your committee. Minutes, committees, minutes. So, and this is part of looking at performance and accountability. And that's what you track as a church clerk. That department has not submitted minutes. So part of my church's strategic plan is what we call governance. And governance says that every meeting must have minutes. Subcommittee, wherever you are, there must be minutes. And those minutes must be submitted 2 weeks after a meeting. We want the minutes of any committee. So at any point in time, the leaders must know. You can't have a meeting and there are no minutes. You must take the church seriously. Financial reporting is very important. Guys, you can play around with the church clerk report and the other departments. There's one report that must always be given, and that's the finance report. Always. Always, finance report must be number one focus of the leaders. If the treasurer needs support, put every support in place to support the treasurer. But that report must always be in place. What that means also is that if you look at the church manual, it speaks about a finance committee. What we do in my church, we've got a finance committee, and the finance committee will help the church clerk, the treasurer, to check, they double check, just to make sure that everything is in order. When the treasurer reports there, the finance committee, they know exactly what's being reported. Fully informed. They've checked the bank statements. We don't hear from the church clerk about bank statements. They are in the hand of the members of the finance committee. They've got copies. It's got the terms of reference, and they've signed confidentiality agreements not to divulge any information that's there. So when you have a treasurer who is the only one who knows the bank statement, you are in trouble. You know you are doing something wrong. If it's only your treasurer who knows the bank statement, you are in trouble. It doesn't work like that. When it comes to finances, no compromise. In my church, what we've also done, we've also elected our own internal auditor to be an extra eye. We have our own internal auditor in the church because we don't play with money. We never play with money in the church. One church there in Pretoria, under the Northern Conference, they were not paying attention to the treasurer. And it was in October 2023. The treasurer had embezzled about 700,000 rands. As we speak, that lady, the treasurer, is in prison. As we speak. Zero tolerance with people who mess up with church money. Zero tolerance. But it is us who create that situation because the church treasurer is alone. When the money gets picked up from here, what we do, we take the money from here and we give it to the church treasurer. No, that's not how it works. When the money gets picked up by the deacons, the deacons have their book, we do it the old style. And we've got the treasurer also has a book or his book. And then we go into the vestry after church, and then the deacons will count the money. The treasurer is present together with the assistant. The deacons write in their book, this is how much was collected for the day, from Sabbath school, divine service, and wherever. And then we hand over to the treasurer. But we know what is collected. And the requirement is that on Monday the money must be banked. Because every conference has got a financial insurance. And that insurance runs out on Mondays. Mondays it runs out. If the money gets taken, after midnight, or after business, close of business on Monday, that money is no longer insured. And if treasurer, you have not banked the money, and the money gets lost, personal responsibility, you pay back. The money must be banked. If you can't, you ask the deacons or elders to help you to go and bank. But money must be banked at all times. The church staff, the treasurer only gets the money after the church, the deacons have handed over the money. If the same goes for the departments, we've got a requisition form for each department. Before a department gets money, they must submit a requisition form. Even though it's budgeted for, we want the requisition form and we want quotations attached. Minimum 3. If we have to buy something, minimum 3 quotations. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Just a portion on what received to us. The secretary and the minutes, because we're going to come out here interpreting it that the secretary must be in all these committees and take minutes. Be in committees, must take our minutes, compile them, give them to the secretary so that they are for whatever.
Absolutely correct. Every committee has got its chairperson and they elect their secretary. And their secretary must write the minutes. Absolutely correct. Thank you for that. And that secretary of that department or committee submits the minutes to the leader. And the minutes must be signed. Minutes must be signed. You see, when we have an agenda item that says adoption of the minutes of the previous meeting, right? We have that item. We then do the corrections, then we adopt the minutes. Once the minutes are adopted, it's no longer draft minutes, they are now official minutes. At the bottom, there must be date, the date of adoption. And then there must be the elder who was chairing and the church clerk who was writing the minutes. And they must sign. Those are official minutes now, they are signed. We sign our minutes. Yes, sir.
So, and I think it reflects on all of us. So for me, it's very happy to So we requested letters, and I'm sorry to ask to be practical. Made an announcement requesting just to reflect. But you need something very, very important. Against what? So we don't have a straight and so maybe you can assist us to say how then we become more organized. They have such. And then also, I see some rules. If they don't work, we must work against and see and how to fix. So that even as you go out, a smooth administration. But you can just help us to go there. You understand? So I take it on that one. But then also, our skill set is different. I didn't know about the plan, it's in a plan, was in a template, for example, so ever that they get in this 27 countries, you get 27 different templates. Kusana actually this transition to administration. And then we will deal with it in the Hivata Mocheka. Or where we have identified those, the finance, the administration in terms of children, but also in a case of Ruduna the airport interpretation. Meeting, like that's the chief of the church must take charge of this. But if you look at no, masingi wakakupa watambutia habari zote za sasa au kuifanya so that at least are kufara the forecast as said are whatever
Right, nothing else. Let me start with the last one. When you look at the church manual, it will tell you that the pastor is chairs the board meeting and the business meeting, but he may delegate to the elders. All right. So that's clear. Now, what is the role of a chairperson? The role of a chairperson is to facilitate the meeting. What is the role of a church clerk as a secretary? Is to manage the content of the meeting. Content. So when I as the chairperson, let's say that we are discussing a trip to Kuruma. Let me just make an example. When we then say agenda item trip to Kuruma, Pathfinder trip to Kuruma, as the chairperson, you don't come in there and say, no, the trip will happen on this date and we need contributions from the parents and where are the tents going to be sitting up? The church like is just writing. So your role on that item is to say, members present, the next item we're going to discuss is the Pathfinder trip to Kuruma. I am now handing over to the church clerk. And then the church clerk will say, I would like to give some background before I make a motion. And the background is that, according to the program of the church and the conference, there's going to be a Pathfinder affair, and these are the dates, these are the costs, these are the plans, and maybe let me just quickly ask the Pathfinder leader to just give a little bit more detail. The Pathfinder leader speaks, sits down, and the church clerk says, okay, I've given you some background. I am now going to make an official motion. I move that we approve the trip, the Pathfinder trip to Kuruma. Somebody will say, the chair will then take over. It's the seconder to the motion, second then open for discussion. And members will then discuss. That's what the chairperson does. It's not to be talking on issues. It's the church clerk and the call them the subject matter experts, the departmental leaders who are speaking to the issues. But you may give direction sometimes where it is necessary as the chair. So the chair facilitates order in the meeting, the church clerk controls the content of the meeting, the discussion points. So church clerk, there must never be an item on the agenda, church clerk, and you have no idea what it is about and what decision needs to be made. So, if there's a Kuruma issue, you ask the Pathfinder leader, okay, what's the trip about? What needs to happen? What decision do you want? No, I want the meeting to approve 2,000 rand. That's your outcome. So then, you know what the outcome is. Then you are not sure your motion will be A, approve the trip, B, with this budget. Because every decision that has got a budgetary implication, the budget must be part of the motion. You must never approve something that needs money and the money is not voted for. Then you approve the trip to Kuruma. And then after the meeting, the Pathfinder leader goes to the treasurer. No, I think we discussed it. We need 4,000. But it's not in the minutes. It was not discussed in the meeting. If you are a church clerk or a church treasurer, you do not release money without an action of the board or the business meeting. You can't. You have no authority. No treasurer has got authority to release funding without an action of the board or business meeting. I'm not talking about Dockers. Because all those decisions must go to the board or the business meeting. That's how you release money. And once you have the action that was taken, right? Because remember, even before we go to the board, Pimi, if they say they want 4,000 for the Kuruman trip, you speak to the treasurer. Do we actually have that money? If the money is not there, what is that item going to do there? You have no money. You will only approve the trip, but say then parents will contribute. That's fine. But if they want money and there's nothing in the kitchen, that motion makes no sense. Because you need to ask, but how is this going to be funded? That's why the budget is important. But let me get into the strategic planning process, which is the question that you have raised. Now, strategic planning, that word, or a strategic plan, it's a concept that did not develop in boardrooms. It developed in the military. It's a military term. It's for people who go to war, soldiers. A strategic plan is simply to say, there's a war, what are the characteristics of the war? And how are we going to win this war? And what do we need? What resources do we need? That's it. That's it. What are the characteristics of the war? Let's look at the battle in the eastern side of Congo, right? You know, when some soldiers who died there and whatever. So when you are a soldier and a general and you need to win that war, you can't just jump in there. You don't know who is M23. You can't just, hey, Arjen, Rahalwan. No. You develop your strategic plan. And part of your strategic plan is called situational analysis. Understand the situation, what's happening there. So you're going to sit down and say, all right, let's look at Congo. What is happening in Congo? What do we know about Congo? You will then say, okay, Congo, well, it is the biggest country on the continent. That's information, right? Then you're going to say, all right, since they got their independence in the early 60s, they have been unstable government for many decades. Patrice Lumumba became the president there, and he was killed by some French mercenaries, even though they put the information there, but you are a general, you need to understand the history. History is important. Then you are going to say, okay, there was the Berlin Conference of 1894 to 1895, where the colonialists met in Berlin, and then they decided that Africa is too big, and they are going to then cut Africa into countries and make the boundaries. That's where the boundaries come from. We didn't have boundaries in Africa. That's where the boundaries come from. Then you will find that, oh, okay, so when they drew the boundaries, the people of Congo and the people of Rwanda were the same people. You know, it was just what? A big family staying together, and then the colonialists said the boundary will run here. Now the families here, the other families this side. Now these ones are suddenly in Rwanda. These ones are suddenly in Congo because the white people said boundary, but it's not the same people. And that's what happens when. If you look at Malawi, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Angola, Namibia, we are one people. That's why xenophobia doesn't make sense. That's the information you gather. Then you say, okay, so the people in the eastern of Congo are actually Rwandese people. That's why Paul Kagame is worried about the Rwandese people in Congo. But why? What's the problem there? Then you check history. Because of instability in Congo, the government and the country is big, and it's well-resourced with the minerals. Most of your strategic minerals globally are in Congo. They're in Congo. So then you say, you study government in Congo, then it's like, okay, the government in Congo has always been unstable, and they have never really, they don't have a footprint. There are parts of Congo where government has got no presence at all. It's just a bush. People are just living. And it's illegal mining by big global corporates and they just take and go. Of course, they collaborate with our African people there because they are all eating together. Then you realize, okay, there is actually no government present footprint in the eastern part of Congo. What else do we know about the eastern part of Congo? That's where the minerals are. Okay, now the global economic thrust is that we are moving away from fossil fuels. We are now going for green energy. All the minerals you need for the green economy are in the eastern part of Congo. But who's mining them? It's the global industrial conglomerates. So then you're like, okay, it's not just the locals. There are people who've got money who are interested in the instability. Where? Let me tell you something. Where there's instability, there are profits to be made. Chaos is good for some businesses. So that's your strategic plan. Then you see who's M23. You find out, oh, this is where they come from. And Paul Kagame, what's his story? Oh, he's saying that during the genocide, what we eliminated the Tutsis and the Hutus. Some of the people who committed the genocide, some went to France, some to South Africa in the Western Cape, and some went to Switzerland, and some went to the eastern part of Congo. So they are there. So his issue is that there are people who committed genocide who are staying in the eastern part of Congo, and South Africa is shielding them because it's part of the SADC peacekeeping mission. That's a strategic plan. It's a situational analysis. Then you can say, oh, so they are M23 is well resourced because they also get money from conglomerates who like the chaos there because they can take out the minerals. Now you know that you need money to go and fight there. And then you look at your army, if you're South African, and you're like, we've had budget cuts for the last 15 years. Our waifs are standing, they can't even pay salaries for the last 3 years. You just know that guy is a non-starter. What are we going to do then? Bring it home. When you do your strategic plan, you then say, what is the sphere of influence of Emmanuel Church? In other words, you draw your map that because you've got other churches also here, the radius is small in Kimberley. So you then demarcate your radius. That we're going to take this part, that's three, then you've got your map, that's your radius, that's where you're going to concentrate in. Otherwise, you're going to be across boundaries. And that's also part of I wanted to say a word, but let me say, it's part of the madness that we have, that you've got so many churches in one place. It creates chaos, and they're also even if they were cooperating, it would have been better. But there's not one. In a small place like this, you need to have one plan. It doesn't make sense. Because you've got one community. When they say Masabata, they are speaking about the different churches, but they don't have a common experience. That's why there needs to be collaboration, it's important. I'll give you an example. Some years ago, I had when I was the leader, the chairperson of the district in the East Rand, we had a lot of churches complaining that they are not getting sites. I think that's also the issue here. There are no sites for churches. So I then took the team and we said, let's make a meeting with the manager, with the relevant department in the Ekurhuleni municipality, which is part of the East Rand. And when we get there, because our complaint is, hey, our TUC churches are suffering, we don't get sites. So when we get there, and we sit with them, they take out the map, and they say, okay, there's Boxback Church. We're like, hey, then maybe let's say, Binoni Church, Binoni South Church. We know that church is not in the TOC. And we're like, which church is that? And they open the details, it's under the Northern Conference. And they give us the whole SD churches in the East Rand. And they are so many. They don't know about UC and Northern Conference, right? They don't know, and it's not their responsibility. And then they say, Adventists, in all the churches that you have, you are the most represented in terms of sites. If there is one thing that is unfair that's happening here, is that most churches, church sites, are taken by you. Catholic churches don't come. Hey, you are far ahead of Catholic churches, far ahead of Methodist churches, far ahead of all of these other churches. They actually said, you're overrepresented. Everywhere is an Adventist church. Now you want more. The Constitution says there must be fair representation. That point makes sense to me. To me, it makes sense. You know why it makes sense? I'll tell you what. In the church, we've got a department called Public Affairs and Religious Liberty. I know a lot of churches, they don't know how their department works. They don't even elect leaders for their department. But that's my number one department. That's my favorite department. We believe in religious liberty, which means we believe in the right of anybody to believe in what they want to believe in. And we must protect their right. Oh, let me tell you something. Do you know that globally, the Adventist Church is the first church to have a department called Religious Liberty, or the concept of religious liberty? The Sabbath School Department, James White wrote the first lesson in 1851, and Ellen White in 1852 said, look, I've had a vision, you must print, and then they started to write Sabbath School lessons and all of those. So officially, Sabbath School Department started in 1852. The second department in the church is actually the Public Affairs and Religious Liberty Department. Because the church, because we're a prophetic movement and we subscribe to the values of the Protestant movement, the church took it upon itself that there must never be a time where the church and the state come together. So public affairs and religious liberty is that the church, religious liberty in particular, there must be no collaboration between church and state or coming together. That's what we stand for. That's why in 1902 or somewhere in the early 1900s, when the USA issued a Sunday law, it was the Adventist Church that mobilized 2 million pamphlets to protest against the Sunday law. And the Sunday law was stopped. It was us. So, we must protect the rights of people, Zion, Methodist, whoever, to believe what they believe. And they must respect our right. I'm mentioning this because I said the report I received from the municipality makes sense. We are overrepresented. And I went back to the committee and I said, no, it's unfair. There's no way we can have so many churches and other churches are not getting sites. It's unfair. Stop applying for sites. Do fundraising and buy a house, change it into a church or something, a building, whatever. Or buy a plot, but not from government. We are overrepresented. That's me. Because our church stands for religious liberty. This church. Alright, so, and I guess I'll just try to touch on the point there. You know, this thing of knocking in the municipality for 20 years doesn't make sense. So, that's then how you develop your strategy. You then say, where are you? What is your geographical boundaries? And then you say you're going to play here. And then when you have drawn your geographical boundaries, you must know do a survey, find information from the municipality, know who is the local councillor. By the way, one of the critical departments is the PAL department, Public Affairs and Religious Liberty. It's got two legs. There's religious liberty, there's public affairs. Then public affairs, that's where the issue of social relevance come in. The person who does public affairs and religious liberty is the detective of the church. That's the person who should know who is the mayor. That's the person who should know who are the councillors, who are the ward committee members. You should know where your church is, what ward number you are in. Who are the ward members? Who are the councillors? You should have visited the house of the councillor to pray for him or her and the family. You should have invited them to come and say a word or two. That's what we have done in my church. We pray for the councillor and the family. When the new mayor has been recently Solbaiki changed the mayor and the speaker, the churches should have gone there to say, we want to pray for you and your family. You are taking over, the municipality. It's a big responsibility because it is God who appoints leaders. When we look at them, we don't see ANC, we see God, we are Christians. We see God, we must pray for the leaders. Ellen White says, it is the duty of the church to preach to influential members of society. You know what we do as a church? When we run a week of prayer, it's in the informal settlement. When we baptize, it's members of the informal settlement. But people who sit in the legislature, we don't preach to them. Why? It is them who need the gospel more. That's why, when you look at the issue of should Adventists vote, there was a discussion in Battle Creek in 1880, and the issue was, Ellen White was even present, she didn't even comment in that meeting. They were talking about should we vote, should we not vote, and the decision was that if we don't vote, men who don't believe in God are going to run the local government of Battle Creek. And they decided to vote and participate. That's why we've got a department called Public Affairs and Religious Liberty. Public affairs means we must be involved in the issues of the public. What are those issues? Corruption, poverty, unemployment, and teenage pregnancy, and drug abuse, and the list is long. And the leader of public affairs is the one who sits with the local councillor and say, what is the plan for our ward? And come and inform the church that this is what they are paying. And then your strategic plan fits in with the plan of the ward for your boundaries. Then you jump in. In my church, what we have done, we have our health department. We're opening a branch. We now have a branch there. But before we opened the branch, we said we need presence in that area. So we had a 3-year plan for that area. We decided no tent ministry. Health department, we will do health expo. We spoke to the councillor. I went to speak to the councillor, and this is who we are. Give the material, we support. We are a global church. Introduce the Adventist church, and the councillor was like, "Wow, okay, it's a powerful church." And we said we want to do a health expo. The councillor ran around to organize a beautiful, safe park. Planned, put the budget. We had nurses and doctors, all Adventists. And if there are nurses from the community, we call them as well. They are part of our program because we are a community church. We had our health expo, took people's names, and then we told them, okay, we will be having training classes every Sunday morning, aerobic classes. The health department is running that every Sunday morning for the last 3 years. Every Sunday morning, we are there in that park, exercising. The community, it's 98% community, 2% Adventist. And the counselor is there every Sunday. The same members, when we've got family life programs, we invite them and they invite their friends because they know that we stand for health here. They are exercising. We've got Mabokos there. But it's a 3-year plan. It's not a plan that, okay, we're going to set up a tent and baptize. Because we are not chasing numbers. We are chasing change in the community. We've got cooking classes. At my church, we've got the Dorcas department. Bless the heart of the Dorcas leader. Every Wednesday, we've got close to 200 people who come to church to eat and to receive the word for the last 3 years. And we give food parcels for those who really need the help. We've got, on Sabbath, when we are in church, those members who come during the week, you will just see a person, they walk in, 15 of them walk into the church with their overalls and whatever, because it's their church. They live here during the week. They live here, and they come here like, I need a prayer, or whoever is sick. Church in the community. What we have even done from this year, we only have afternoon program 1. This thing of afternoon programs cut. Only once a month. The other Sabbath afternoons, hospital visitation. Other ones, it's family time. We say, members, there's no program this afternoon. Spend time with your families. That's what we do. Why do you want to sit here the whole day? I know I'm keeping here the whole day, but why do you want to sit here the whole day? Even Ellen White says, in the morning go to church. After the divine service, go home. Go do a nature walk. It's too much. It's too much. Can I press it again? It's too much. Leaders, stop keeping people in church every Sabbath afternoon. You do not judge the quality of a church by afternoon programs. We do hospital visitations. We've cut nature walk. Sabbath in the park. We lose the church before Sabbath in the park. So the strategic plan, you look at you do your situational analysis. I mean, if you've done some management studies, you will know that you need to look at your political factors. What are the politics? You need to know the councillor. You need to look at your economic factors. You need to do a survey, and sometimes you don't have to get information is available, where you can pick it up from the local councillor. In this area, how many people are unemployed? What are the demographics? You need to know the demographics of your area. You can't have a church in an area and you don't know the people. A church exists for the people. Now we have turned it around as Adventists. The church exists for us. The church is it's not our church. It's a community church. My church there, they bury their people there. This thing of, you say, this is where we are hypocrites as Adventists. When you don't have a church, you are going to rent a church on a Saturday, right? But when the same people want to rent your church on a Sunday, no. It's hypocrisy. There, my church. You want to rent it? Take it. It's a community church. Before we built, we sat down and said, members, this is going to be a community church. We've got funerals there of people we don't know. People that come for venue, for weddings. We just tell them that on Sunday we will, Sabbath we worship. Sunday, they use the place. We had another one in December, we had a wedding there. There are funerals happening there. It's a community community church. So if that church closes down, a lot of people are going to go hungry. And what we've done now, there's a house next door. So we were friends, some white guy there. We used to pray. We were very close friends. So when he decided to relocate and sell the house, the first people he spoke to us, guys, I thought I had you in mind. And he gave us a beautiful discount. We bought the house and we're developing that into a training center. So we're busy, want to sorting out our NPO and have accredited training there. For the community. It's a community church. So your strategic plan must be about mission. When we talk mission, generally as Adventists, we're talking, I must convince them with the Bible study and give them lots of verses. And then they must come, they must be baptized. That's not mission. It's not a complete picture. We do not measure success by the number of people we have baptized. That's not the only measurement, I should put it that way. Because the Great Commission says, go ye therefore, right? Preach, baptize, and all of those things. That's our mission. Yes, people must be baptized. And Ellen White says, in the Ministry of Healing, we must follow Christ's method. He interacted with people, and he met their needs, and then he bade them, come follow me. Right now we say people must follow us, they don't know us. And we don't know them. Even when they visit on Sabbath, we don't know them. Who must follow you? I mean, it's like you walk in the street, you're a young man, and you see a beautiful lady, and you're like, hello beautiful lady, I'm Andrew, you're so beautiful, I'd like to marry you. It's like, what's wrong with this guy? That's what we do. We want to baptize people who don't know us. We do not chase numbers, we chase quality. We chase impact in the community. So your strategic plan, you sit down and say, what are the issues in the community? Because yes, our mission is to preach Christ to a dying world. That's our mission, is to preach. Officially, the mission of the Adventist Church is to preach the three angels' message. That's the mission of the church in the official books. That's what we do. But part of that preaching is to meet the needs of the community. So then, the General Conference always has a strategic plan. This one is called I Will Go. Of course, it's session this year, so they will change it. But if you look at the GC plan, they've got mission, they've got governance, they've got financial stewardship. Those are their pillars. Now, when we look at those matters, you then say, okay, if these are your strategic pillars, let's say it's mission, it's governance, and it's financial stability. Let's say those are your three, right? Then you then say, these are our strategic pillars. And how are we going to then you develop a plan? And then you say, in mission, what are we going to do in mission? You're not talking departments yet, right? It's the whole church board sitting together, right? Then you say, what do we want to do for mission in the next 2 years or 3 years? It doesn't matter who gets elected the next time. If the plan is for 3 years, you keep it for 3 years. In my church, we have taken a vote. Our plan is 3 years. It goes for the conference period. So if we elect people next year, they don't have to do anything. They must just follow the plan. Full stop. Follow the plan. Right. Then you say, what do you want to do in mission? Alright. people must be saved. How are you going to do it? We cannot go and speak to strangers. How are you going to meet their needs? What are their needs? You do your research. And fortunately, you don't have to do a lot of research because the information is available from the local councillor. And remember, your local councillor, in terms of the Municipal Structures Act, Thabo, you will know it better. They've got ward committees. The ward committees, there's religion, there's social development, there's infrastructure, and so on and so on and so on. 10 members that the ward councillor works with. Everybody has got a different department. An Adventist member must be a member somewhere there in the community. Adventists. Everybody in your individual capacity, you must be a member of an NGO somewhere in the community. That's why people think that we are elitist. And they think, when they think Adventist, they think Habajana. But do not go getting us something that's all they know about us. And by serious. That's all they know about us. It's a shame to be known for those things. We must be known that in that house on the Ochore, but we brought food parcels. That's what we must be known for. That's the gospel. For in that house, there was a suicide case we are going to support. We must go to the matron at Nielsen KH. We must go to Robert Sobukwe and speak to the matron and say, matron, I don't know whether they still have matrons. They still do. Oh, okay, thank you. I'm like outdates, man. But we go there and say, this is who we are. This is us Adventists. We would like to pray for those people who don't receive visitors. There are people there, people are lying there, their families are from Kuruma. They can't visit them. And you just give them a list and say, please help us with the list of people who do not get visitors. And you go and pray. It's mission. That's what we must do. So once you have done, you are sitting as a church board, and you say, mission, we want to do this, we want to do this, we want to do this. Let's say you say, we want to support 3,000 families with food parcels. I'm making an example. Then you say, okay, 3,000 families in 1 year, let's break it in months. It's going to be this month, this amount per month. Then you say, where are we going to get the money from? You work out a plan. And you may say in your plan, hey, we may not make the money. Okay, let the church register an NPO. Once the NPO is registered, we're going to go to Pick n Pay and ask for support. And when you are registered as an NPO, you've got your Section 18A status or PPO status from SARS, and which means if Pick n Pay supports, you issue them with an 18A certificate, so they get the rebate. There's lots of money out there, by the way. You know what Ellen White says? Ellen White says, God's money is in the hands of non-believers, and we must go get it. That's what Ellen White says. You are hungry here. There are people who are sitting with your money who don't believe in it, who don't keep the Sabbath. Go get your money. How do you get your money? Come up with a plan to go get your money. Develop a business plan and say, yes, my business plan. Support me. They are sitting with your money because you are a child of the kingdom. So then, once we have now said, okay, mission, and don't do a plan, do simple plans, right? My personal philosophy is, simple plan, robust implementation. Because we like to have plans, but we never implement. Simple plan, robust implementation. So under mission, you just want to do three things that high impact in the community. Under leadership, what are you going to do? You're going to train your leaders when you change board. Give them training. You will then call them here on a Sunday and call somebody maybe to come and talk about emotional intelligence or whatever leadership matter. Invite them. And then you say, by the end of the year, we want every leader to be able to speak with confidence. Maybe that's your target. And you put a measurement to it. And you say governance. We want, let's say it's a 3-year plan. You say year 1, all minutes, we want 50% compliance in year 1. Year 2, 70% compliance. Year 3, 100% compliance. So every committee that's in must submit minutes. That will be your governance target. Then once you have done that, you've got an overarching plan, and the church board members were part of the planning. They must be part of it. Then you say, leaders, we now have our overarching plan. Now go back as the deacons or doctors, sit with your committees, and then see in this overarching plan, where will your department contribute? It's easy now for a leader to come up with a plan, because that church, that Dorcas leader, was part of the planning of the overarching plan. So when he or she goes back to meet with her or his committee, only prior information, only better vision to guide the committee and to craft the plan. Then when it comes to leadership, it's just to make sure that my committee members are trained on how to run efficient meetings. That's a target. Then you come up with the measurement. Then every member then gets a template on, and all they do is, I will do this, here's the target over this period of time. There's a template. But it does not work. That's why a lot of churches in May, they are still talking, the planetary department, it's May. In August, they are having elections, nominating committee. The year is gone. The responsibility of leaders is to empower the departmental leaders. Church clerk, treasurer, and deacons, elders, it's your duty to empower the members. So you need to read and know more. If you don't know, go and ask for information. Call people to assist you. And then you've got a plan. And then it becomes easy for the departments to plan, because they now know what is expected of them. So oftentimes, when people don't provide input, it's because they also don't know. They don't know. And then it looks like they're not supporting. They're not submitting, because they're just scared to say, I don't know what you want from me. I don't know where to start. I don't know. But I will tell you one thing, and then I will open for questions. Generally speaking, the Adventist church is very poor when it comes to planning. We are poor. From conference level and division, the general conference is very organized, I'll tell you that. But downwards, the sad state of affairs. Sad state of affairs. Sad state of affairs. It runs just, I don't know, I mean, you just go to the website of the union, not even the union, there's nothing there. The union had its session in October 2022. I was elected into the Strategic Planning Committee of the union. And the Strategic Planning Committee had 5 subcommittees. I was part of them. They haven't had meeting. We only had 1 meeting each. Nothing happened. They are going to session now. There's nothing. How are you gonna? You're talking about monitoring and evaluation. I don't know what they're gonna report at the session. You know what they're going to report? You know what our church does? Lots of events. The church is a big events management company. The church, the Adventist church, it's an events management company. When you look at it, it's every month there's an event. Women's ministries are going to Mozambique. Pathfinders are going away. It's all events. We are a big events management company. There's no plan even from the union. You go to the website of the division, there's nothing there. There's no plan. There's no plan. But I'm hoping, Emmanuel, you will be able to put the plan together and in front of my brother Remo Seki there, I volunteer to assist to develop a plan if there's no plan. I commit to assist. Yeah, Remo video le pramaki batla go tshepisitse. Amen. So strategic planning is important so that we are relevant in the society. But I think I will ask for comments here because if I don't stop here, I will speak forever. I don't mind speaking the whole day. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I thought that Elder Tumba will say Amen, especially when we are talking about us being not relevant. We are not seen because he has been talking to the church. That what are people saying? We are here. People don't see us. What are we doing? So I thought that he would be the one. On Tuesday, the 28th of January, 2025, I was sitting almost where Tabu is sitting. The mayor was sitting here. No, the mayor was sitting here, the secretary, the spokesperson of our council for an IDP meeting in the same hall here. And one of the questions that one of the community members, it was 5 words, 13, 15, 16, 17, 31, and 32. Now, one of the questions that were addressed by a young person with a kind of a complaint was that they are occupying our spaces, but we don't know what are they doing. My conscience was like shaking as I was sitting here. That one lady is telling the truth. We don't get a space ourselves as a church because there are many spaces occupied by other churches. But the question is, what are the churches doing? And how relevant are we to the communities? And I was here as a community member, I'm staying just here around the corner, and also as a member of the NPO in our community, the secretary. I'm the secretary of the NPO in the community. And thinking about what we are saying now, there's a book that we have as a church. Every member involvement. How is it? Total member involvement. When after reading that, myself as an Adventist who grew up in this church, I realized that we have not been doing nothing. There there is nothing that will be all what will tell people about the second coming of Jesus, coming on Sabbath, as you say, people, that's how they know us. But we are not relevant. People don't know us. And with those that are in our midweek prayer, we completed that book during our Wednesday prayers. Those who are staying this side, we completed that book. I read it many times. Now, it's not easy to implement what we are not used to. We have to start something new because it tells us how relevant we should be. We should be active. It's that book, and the pastor called Power. He's talking a lot about praise. Goya, yes. And then that book that him, now he's a 10 person. And other books that I'm reading, which are making it so clear to us as Adventists that we are not known. We want to preach, we want the whole world to. That part, your Pastor Goya, for instance, he would narrate a number of stories where he says the unentered area, in the new area where they've gone, they would pray about this place, and then they would be told that in this place, no one repents, no one becomes a Christian. But with their strategic plans, and then they would do community services, of which we have a lot of community services in our books. We've got the health message, which is one of the most messages that are more relevant to the community. As you say, we can have our the health messages, but those those 7 stages, those 7 stages of the health message, basic things like that we can do in the community. Yes, we can have in the community. But now, I think as the church, we really are benefiting from what we are getting today. Hoping that we're going to sit down, go back and sit down and plan and strategize. We may need to plan a lot of things, but the main thing that will attract the community, the interest of the community. Talking about the church having an NPO, there's a need in our community, working for the Department of Social Development, in the Department of Substance. When we talk substance, a lot of people, they don't know. They don't know. A lot of families want to commit suicide because they don't know how to address the substance challenge in their houses, in their families. Those are some of the things that we can agree as a church that, all right, you do the substance NPO, whatever, but you address the substance challenges in our community. So, but now, as I say, it's not an easy thing. For instance, we sometimes experience some kind of a misunderstanding, like in my house, right? When you want to be involved in the community, when there would be questions like, I don't blame my wife because she's an Adventist like me, but myself having read this information that you don't need to sit down and be in your comfort zone, but you need to stand up and be involved. Your hands must be in. And then you always want to do something. That's what it says. That's what Isaiah 58 is saying. Let us do something. And not foolishly so, but with wisdom that God is giving us. And be able to be seen, to be known without preaching. The preaching will come later. We'll be able to open the verse to say, okay, this is what the Bible says. But when people are seeing that, there's a difference what we are seeing in the life of this person, people. And then when they start to ask, then we will be able to say, to open the word of God and be able to preach. Pastor Paul, the pastor that I'm forgetting his name, he's always saying that's how they were able to preach the gospel. And then they were getting a lot of sponsors. Other people, as you say, one was living, then he decided to give you certain worship. And then they would get sponsor for the tiles, for the roof, or whatever which they were trying to build in the community. And some of these things they were planned many years ago, but they were almost forgetting. But because they were known for what they're doing in the community. And then someone say, hey, I'm still there. I've got this material, I've got this to provide for us. And then that's how we were able to get whatever they wanted. Even us as the children, there's something that says, we'll struggle with the municipality. I was sitting with the municipality yesterday, just yesterday. Yesterday around 8 o'clock in the morning, I realized that it's very difficult to get it in the site for us as a church unless we do something which will market us. That will market us and make us to be known by the community. That's my living stand.